School violence in Trinidad and Tobago is a massive problem, and that is an understatement. Nearly every day, certainly every week, but nearly every day it could seem like you're seeing some video pop up about some school in a fight, and the fights these days are getting really scary. It seems like these students, these children, have the intention to really cause severe harm to each other. And considering the age group, considering that I've made previous videos pointing out that these children are in uniform, it's known where you can find them. They obviously seem to not be interested in whatever the consequences for their actions might be. It seems like they're so caught up in the moment that what they're doing in the moment is the only thing that they seem interested in. There has been a recent fight now that has been grabbing the entire country's attention and focusing it even more on this pressing issue. Now, it was probably like a week ago or so that our Minister of Education came out speaking about the school violence and how it's decreasing, etc., etc. And now, and now, not that long later, it seems like her statements have been proven to be false. But before we dive in further into that story, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you are subscribed, and drop a comment, tell me what you think. I'm attempting to start doing these shorter videos more often again. They allow a more encapsulated story to be said. So if you like these videos, make sure you hit that like button, drop a comment, tell me what you think about them. Tell me your opinion on these stories, and make sure to subscribe. Share the story out there to someone you think may enjoy this kind of video and this kind of content. And let's dive in. Schoolgirl 15 stabbed, slashed in fight with other student. A Williamsville secondary school girl was stabbed and slashed with a knife during a fight with another schoolgirl yesterday. Now, this story is not from yesterday exactly. Yesterday they would be speaking of there, I believe, would have been Monday. While the 15-year-old student received injuries to her face, chest, and arm, however, police said her injuries are not life-threatening. According to reports around 2:35 p.m., the girl was standing at the Williamsville Junction with other students after school was dismissed when she got into an altercation with another female, a student aged 15. Other female students joined their friend in the fight, outnumbering the other girl. During the scuffle, however, the girl, who was overwhelmed by the others, pulled out a knife and stabbed her main attacker some 3 times before she was pulled away by a male student. A social media video recorded by another student showed blood dripping from a wound on the right side of the girl's face after the knife attack. She was later taken to the Princestown Health Facility and then transferred to the San Fernando General Hospital. Now, according to this first bit of the story, if this is correct, if this is the fact, if these are the facts surrounding how this situation played out, what do you think then? Is this something that can plausibly be seen as self-defense? If, as they were saying, is true, if, as the initial story here says, is true, that these 2 young ladies got into an altercation. Now, I don't know how that initial altercation started. I suppose that may be of some interest to find out also. But this initial altercation happened, and then several other girls jumped in on one of the girls' side, and they were beating this one young lady. If you are in the position of this one young lady and you have a knife in your possession, what do you do? Now, the question of how the knife came into her possession is a whole other issue. I saw in comments, and you know, when you start reading these internet comments, they could go down the deep end. I have interest in probably starting a video series where we go through some comments, because I really like going into the comments sometimes. The comments sometimes is where all the source is. But the source oftentimes is tainted inside of the comments at the same time. So in some of the comments I've seen it suggested that the knife was handed to her by probably someone else in the crowd. Who knows? If you are in a situation where you are being beaten, people who don't like you for whatever reason, multiple people are beating on one you, 4, 5 of them, somehow a knife enters your hand. Now, let's not deal with that yet. We're just at the moment where there is a knife in your hand. What would you do? And would attacking the main attacker with said weapon be excusable? I think there's an argument there. I think there's something to be said about that. But nonetheless, the young lady who was attacked is in hospital. Teen girl in custody for stabbing schoolmate. And the one who stabbed is now in custody. A 15-year-old girl is still in police custody after she stabbed a schoolmate. We know that. The girl with the knife was arrested and was being kept at the Princestown police station up to Tuesday afternoon. A senior police officer said the girl is being questioned by officers of the Southern Division and may face charges of malicious wounding and wounding with intent to kill once a file is compiled and sent to the DPP. Now, I am not a lawyer in this case. I don't know anything about this specifically. But we're just talking here and we're wondering, as fellow Trinidadians or just observers, wherever you are observing from, drop that in the comments, by the way. And if you're looking at this, wounding with intent to kill, malicious wounding, if it is that the person who was wounded was actually the aggressor, and that person who was wounded was the person who brought multiple people into this aggressive scenario, would it really be malicious wounding, or would it just be self-defense? And what do you think should be done in a case like this? Do you think that in a case like this, as with the facts that we have so far, that the person who, the knife wielder, the person who had the knife, do you think they should face legal prosecution? Do you think they should go to jail? Or worse yet, it seems, wow, worse than jail it seems these days, the St. Jude's home for girls? Do you think that should be their punishment? Or do you think they should be expelled from the school? Now, I may have some favor to the expulsion argument, because if you look at some of my previous lives, I've said in some of the previous lives that I am kind of the opinion that children who cannot be controlled by their parents are not to be allowed in the regular school system. I do not think that is a functional system. I do not think the system can work like that. Children who cannot be controlled by their parents then cannot be controlled by the teachers. They cannot function properly in the system. They are going to be indisciplined, and then you are putting other students at risk with that. So I am not averse to the expulsion argument, but in this case, we're seeing that there may be some arguments about self-defense. So what do you think? How do you see it? But there was some further information to come out of this also, because the injured schoolgirl who is in hospital, her lungs are being monitored. Scary stuff. Now, they blurred out the picture here, and I'm grateful for that. I have not seen any images of this issue. To be very honest with you, I have not seen the pictures of the young lady after she was stabbed. I've seen some distance videos, a little bit of the incident. I have not seen the direct gory video of the incident, and I have no real interest in seeing it, to be very honest, unless someone says, well, there's an interesting bit of information you could get from viewing that video, then maybe I'd want to view it there. But just to see the gore of young children maiming each other, oh, no, that isn't of interest to me. The 15-year-old prefect at Williamsville Secondary School, who was slashed and stabbed on Monday on her face, chest, and hand with a knife by a schoolmate, was up to last night, still receiving medical attention at hospital. I find it interesting this article also includes that the young lady is a prefect. I'm not sure what is to be garnered about her character with that, but she is a prefect. The girl's grandmother, speaking at her Monkey Tongue New Grant home yesterday, told members of the media that the Form 2 pupil was taken via ambulance to the San Fernando General Hospital after the incident. They did x-rays and all these different things Monday night, and then she had to do one again this morning, said the grandmother, who did not want to be named. She added that doctors were monitoring her granddaughter's lungs to ensure she did not develop any complications that could cause breathing problems. The grandmom said the child's mother has been at her side. The girl sustained a 10-centimeter cut to the right side of her face from her eye to her lip, a 3-centimeter deep laceration, that's not very, very deep, but a laceration to her chest wall, and a slash to the left arm. The teenager with the knife was taken by police to the juvenile booking center. We know that side now. The family found out about the stabbing from a video posted on social media. That's some of the creepy stuff and some of the inappropriate stuff in this whole modern atmosphere we have here. The family found out that they charge their granddaughter, in the case of the grandmother, they found out that she was hurt in this fight, that she was stabbed from social media. You're looking at this and, oh my goodness, look at these children fighting again. Oh my goodness. Wait, that's not. What a way to find out. The grandmother said her grandchild was threatened in the past by the girl. She said the threat was reported to the school, but she was unsure whether any action was taken. She said school violence is terrible and added she never thought it would have reached her home. Now, there seems to be some allegations when you hear what the grandmother says here, when you see what some people are saying online, etc. There's some back and forth here about who might be the real bully. And I think some might say that it does not matter, but I think it does matter, because it does matter if this is a case of someone reacting to something, if it is a case of someone reacting in self-defense to an issue, or if it is a case of someone being the aggressor, and that's why they use this weapon. I think which one it is might, in my mind, determine whether this might be something warranting suspension and some intervention by the authorities, or expulsion, and if we can get this young lady into another school, and then maybe suspension on the part of both young ladies, even the one who is more severely injured. I think that may be pertinent. Pupils more violent. Now, on Monday, there was at least one other fight that occurred under a tent outside the school's compound. Business owners in the area said fights with school children are more frequent, with one noting it happens on a weekly basis. President of the Williamsville to Princestown Taxi Drivers Association said he observed that new pupils have been more violent as compared to those who have been attending the school over the past 9 years that he had been a taxi driver. He highlighted that previously they were always disrespectful and you heard the cussing, etc., but it seems like the fights are accelerating. Now, I think there are several issues surrounding this. When you hear different people speak about the reasons, and the children need love and they need intervention, they need therapy, they need psychologists, they need social workers, etc., etc., etc. I think there are multiple issues surrounding this. I will say it from the jump. My opinion, my view is that the main issue, the main problem has to do with parenting. Now, if we were to go a bit more abstract from that, the fact that the parenting itself seems to be devolving a bit may be symptomatic of some further issues also, such as the culture itself. And if you listen to enough of my content, I think that's where most of the problems lie. The culture, how the people behave, the normal actions of the people in our society. That's where I think the real problems lie, and the culture as pertaining to the parents, etc. Now, if we have this kind of cultural degradation going on, it would affect multiple issues. transportation issues. Former president of the Association of Maxi Taxi School Transport Concessionaries, wow, that's quite a mouthful, Rodney Ram-Logan, said lack of the maintenance of the school transportation service could have led to Monday's incident. The Concessionaries Association provides transportation in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and the PTSC. Members over the years have been clamoring for outstanding payments. So those were the private maxis you would see picking up and dropping students to and fro from school on a daily basis. Now, that was something that was supposed to be paid for by the Ministry of Education. Now, if you're paying attention to the Ministry of Education, you would be aware the Ministry of Education basically owes everybody. The Ministry of Education, you know, in some of those shops where you have bad pay customer, the Ministry of Education is the bad pay customer of Trinidad and Tobago. The Ministry of Education, literally, they opened a kind of branch of the Ministry of Education where they were there to handle the construction inside of the ministry, and then the ministry began owing itself. Basically, this Ministry of Education just doesn't function too well, but they're owing these maxi taxi operators, and because of that, some of these operators have stopped operating. And what the driver was saying here is, if the service was there, the chances would have been totally less, because our duty is to pull children out of school as soon as school is over. And even if the child was appointed to a school bus, the child would have had to wait in the school compound for when the maxi is there. Listen, I think this might be a bit of a stretch, and the man may be to some extent proverbially singing for his supper, speaking about the injustices that his organization has faced, and granted, pay the people their money. But although it could seem like a stretch, I don't totally disagree. And I think this might be symptomatic of what I'm saying, the wider cultural reasons that fuel these issues that we are seeing now. These issues are symptomatic of wider cultural realities, where, okay, if these maxis were functioning as they should, if the features, the social safety nets, as it were, the nice little social services that we laud on our citizens here in Trinidad and Tobago, if they were functioning properly, if that maxi was on time inside of the school compound, picking up children from inside the school compound and dropping them out to their homes or to their home junction somewhere, you have much less mixing of these massive groups. And then I actually believe there would have been a decrease in the school fighting, because it has been said multiple times in this story that it seems like these children waited and the children who fight most times wait till they leave the school compound. They don't do it inside of the school compound. So part of what you can possibly do to alleviate some of this is as simple as picking them up from the school compound. If you can disperse the crowds as quickly as possible and from the source, I think that already decreases the likelihood of some fights. Now, as I said, the foundation of this matter, the base of this matter, is not maxis picking up students. That's not the base of this. The base of this is parenting. The base of this is the culture around parenting and around raising children. We're failing as a society, evidently. That's why children are fighting like that. But the failure in the society, the degradation of culture, can be seen in a wider array of areas, where you see multiple areas that, if they were functioning, even if the parents weren't picking up the slack as they should, if the maxis were functioning on time, if the school officers were there on the compound as they should be, if the schools were implementing the different measures as they should, if everything functioned as they should, well, maybe we could have allowed this one area to slip. But if now we're seeing that multiple areas seem to be slipping at the same time, then we see instances like this happening. And that, I think, is the reason. How do we solve that? Well, if it's a cultural issue, then I think it should need a cultural solution. We need to change our culture. Change how we see things, the norms, the practices we do as people. Figure out which ones are leading us down this kind of road that we evidently seem to be speeding going along, and pull back from there. What do you think? That's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained, and do tune in to the next video. But before I go, make sure you hit that like button. Yes, the like button right down there, hit the like button. You can hit the notification bell too, so whenever next a video pops up, you would know it's there. Hit that, make sure you're subscribed, drop a comment, hit the like button, and I will see you later.